Welcome back to Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. Actually, let's see. Freaking not loaded properly because my internet connection sucks. So 28th. It's now the 8th of December, right? So I'm finally getting around to freaking recording. It's been over a week, and yeah, finally got around to this. Like I said, I would take a break because, like, to complete the rest of the recording, and I've only just got around to it because, you know, as I said, I was focusing on the New Year video. But that's not all. I think we'll just load the game, so we'll actually have something in the lag. There we go. Right. So, like, I'm going to go on a bit of a ramble here, so just keep in mind that the first few minutes is going to be completely unrelated to this game for the most part. So, my birthday was last week, right? Yes. And for it, I got a 3DS and Pokemon Moon and Sun. I felt very spoiled by that. I was just like, that's a bit much, isn't it, for a birthday present? I mean, holy shit. Never owned a 3DS before. Despite the fact that it's been out for quite a few years. It's the newer version, but still, never played the 3DS. Gotta say, the 3D effect of it's really trippy, but Pokemon Moon and Sun don't really seem to use much of the effect. Like, they only use it in very specific sections of the game. But anyway, I'm going to go on a ramble about that game, essentially, right? Because for the past week, I've been playing it almost non-stop. Marathon that shit. Which I kind of like, feel like I probably shouldn't have done. I should have probably played it more like, kind of, well-balanced, I think. Rather than just playing through the whole time, because now I kind of feel like, you know that feeling when you complete a game and you're just like, what now? I'll insert this meme that I found quite a few years ago or something, because it fully describes how it feels. Insert it there. It's true, man. It's just like, did I beat the game or did the game beat me? I liked it. Honestly, it was different. Like in all the other Pokemon games, like in the main series, it's always the same thing. It's like, oh, here's your starter Pokemon, right? Here's the Pokedex. Now fuck off to the gym leaders, the Pokemon League, and then we'd be like, congratulations, complete the Pokedex, right? Which is impossible, usually. But in this one, it was different. It was like, no, we don't have gym leaders in this region. We have these island challenge trial thing, which is kind of lame, if you ask me, to be perfectly honest. But it was different, so I kind of liked it. It's like, you don't really, like, I just don't know how to describe it. The trials are just range from all kinds of things. You know, at the end of each trial, you're gonna battle a strong Pokemon, which never really kind of felt strong to me, because I'd always kick their asses so effortlessly that I'd feel like, is that it? You know? But other than that, it's like the trials were just different each time, so you just kept like looking forward to each one, even though they were pretty lame, honestly. You just like, kind of like wondering, what kind of trial will it be next? Will it be something stupid? Probably, but what kind of stupid? So it kept you kind of like motivated to continue on, instead of, you know, just being the usual, go to here, get the badge, and then Pokemon League. It does have a Pokemon League in the game, and essentially after you complete that, that's the main game out of the way. But to the point, like, leading up to that point, you like meet some characters along the way, and it just like, some of the main characters in it just really like, there's a certain appeal to it. The story is pretty decent, the character interactions, development, I mean, a lot of characters kind of feel flat, but like, just the main ones like Lilly and How and Gladian, I think his name is, like the way they develop throughout the game, it's interesting, you know. But then once you get to post-game, it's just like, what's even the point in playing the game anymore? That's why I feel kind of like, I should have played it in a more kind of gradual way. Savor the story. Because now without the freaking main story, the game feels lacking. There's no national Pokédex for some reason, so it doesn't really feel like any reason to really collect all the Pokemon. Which really there should be, because it's like, no, man. The Pokédex is actually possible to complete this time around, because you don't have to collect over 600 of the bastards. Actually, I think there's more than 600 now, isn't there? But yeah, the idea it seems more doable, but like, once you got the post-game, it's just like, I can't be arsed. It's like, when I was still playing through the game, I was like, collecting Pokemon left and right. It's like, yeah, let's do this. But as soon as the main game's over, you just kind of have that kind of feeling. It's just like, now there's not going to be much to do, really. Is there? Well, there still are, but it just doesn't have the appeal to it. It just feels like more the same, really. And not more the same in being what motivated me to play through it, which was the exploration, mostly, and the story. Without those, it kind of feels like there's like this one little kind of side story thing where you collect a bunch of legendaries, but that just kind of feels hollow. It's just like how repetitive. And that's what, that's one thing I hate about the Pokemon series is freaking legendaries. They just it feels out of place. I mean, you catch all sorts of Pokemon, rare Pokemon, common Pokemon, doesn't matter. That works, right? But legendaries just seem pointless. I mean, when do you ever use legendaries in battle? Well, some people do, but I never do. It just kind of feels weird how you can just catch these legendary Pokemon. It makes no sense that you're able to do so, and kind of cheapens the fact that they're supposed to be legendary when you can actually catch them, It just kind of feels, Also, the ending in the game feels a bit bittersweet and should like probably have ended like right there, because it felt fitting despite it being a bit bittersweet. And okay, here's what I'm gonna do. See this right here? Next time you see it on screen, unmute, because I'm going to go into spoilers about the ending of the game. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, wait until like you see this arrow back on screen to unmute, because I'm going to go into spoilers. So mute if you don't want to hear it. In 3, 2, 1, go. Right. Okay, I'm kind of gonna make a comparison here, right? The character, fittingly enough, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, I have only played Moon. I mean, they're pretty much the same game, I imagine, with like slight differences. But essentially, there's this character called Lilly, which I'm making this comparison to Lilly in this visual novel here. So now we're getting a bit on subject here in the comparison, at least. And it's a fairly interesting character because it actually feels like she gets development throughout it. It feels like a companion character with a damn personality. I mean, How, for example, just feels like the typical kind of rival that's all happy-go-lucky, and it's just like, God damn it, How, show some more freaking personality, for God's sake. And, like, essentially, like, the ending pretty much has a point where, like, right at the end of it, they all celebrate. It's like, yeah, you're the Pokemon champion, the first champion of the region. Woohoo, let's dance around and laugh and shit, because we don't know how to celebrate, honestly. And then, like, at the end of that, Lilly essentially moves. You're gonna see how this compares now. Moves to the Kanto region. Later find out in the post-game that it's because of her mother. She's like fallen into some kind of coma-ish thing or something, just like not fully all there since the thing in the game and all that shit that happens. I won't go into too much details on that, or any details really, just leave it at that. Essentially, they want to visit Bill in the Kanto region to see what he can do about it, and it kind of feels like a bloody cliffhanger, you know. And like the most interesting character just leaves at that point. It's just like, well, there goes the interesting character, I guess. Is there going to be anything interesting post-game? No, there was not. It's just like, well, there could be. I haven't really played much of the post-game, really, but it's because I lack the motivation to. It doesn't feel like any point. Like, you got this Pokedex, right? Called, it's just like a Pokedex called what? Rotom. Rotom's like in this Pokedex is just really weird. It's interactive and shit. And it's like every time throughout the game, it's like it gives you direction. It's like, okay, let's do this, and Rotom will be like, hey, this, do this, and that, and that. But now it's just like, just says occasional random things. He doesn't actually comment on anything unless you click on him, which kind of feels underwhelming because it feels like there really is nothing to do. Even when you click on him, you're just like, I wonder what this character is up to, or this character is like, don't remind me, Rotom, it's already depressing enough that there's no plot anymore. And then, like, other than that, he might, like, be like, hey, wasn't there some, like, legendary beast thing or something? It's, like, to kind of remind you there is some level of post-game shit. Or just like, hey, let's complete the Pokedex and shit. And it's like, fuck off, Rotom, I can't be arsed. And then there's one that's kind of, like, I found fitting was when Rotom be like, I'm zoning out here, zoning on and on. It's like, yeah, Rotom, I feel you, man. It just kind of feels lacking, doesn't it? It's like, But anyway, to make the comparison, it feels like Lilly's neutral ending in Katawa Shoujo here. It has that bittersweet feel to it. And then after that, it just feels like, what's the point? There's like, the story is completed. I mean, sure, it's just like, it depends what appeals to you with the Pokemon series. If you like battling and collecting Pokemon, fair enough. And I kind of like battling and that as well. But it just doesn't feel the same when there's not much really to do post-game. Like, I've looked up what you can do so far and it just doesn't really interest me. Also, the professor in the game sucks. He's an interesting character, he's very different to the other professors, but he sucks as a professor. I mean, like, take Professor Birch, for example. He sucks. Alright, I'll just say that. Like, in the game, it's just like, oh, you saved me from this Poochyena or some shit at the start of the game. Here's your starter Pokemon, here's a Pokedex, now fuck off, you know, traditional kind of professor. But, you know, like, throughout the game, you can check back to him and just check the Pokedex and he'd be like, oh yeah, I say you do this and all that. This would be where you could look for more Pokemon, you know. It kind of feels like it motivates you a little bit more to kind of complete the Pokedex. The professor in this game doesn't really give a shit about the Pokedex, so it doesn't really feel like, you know, any added kind of appeal to completing the Pokedex, even though there never really is, because what's the point? Just like, oh, congratulations, I guess. But no, it just doesn't feel any point. Rotom's the only one who gives a shit, and he doesn't even give a shit. Just like, what's the point? And you don't even have the national Pokedex. And you know what's weird? You got this freaking island scan shit, which allows you to get Pokemon from other regions. There's only a few of them, apparently. But they don't even have Pokedex entries, because there's no national Pokedex. And they aren't in the region, so it's not in the regional dex. What's the fucking point? It just feels hollow as shit. Ugh. In short, it's a good game, but man, I feel like shit after completing the main story. Simply because, like, playing the post-game story just made me kind of feel like, ugh, why'd you do this, man? That's probably one of the main reasons I kind of lost interest in the series, to be honest. It just kind of feels like more the same after a while. It's just like, oh yeah, that's another thing that bugs me. Is freaking post-game, no freaking bastards really have anything interesting to say. Just like, maybe, you know, travel over the region, see if there are any new character interactions. There are, but for the most part, people are still saying the same shit they said when you freaking first talk to them. So it just feels like, what the fuck's the point in that? It's like, I remember us going to one of the captains that you battle. Well, you don't really battle all the captains. I think you can potentially battle the captains in a way, but I don't know how to, and I can't really be asked, to be honest. But when I went to visit him, it was as if he's just like, oh yeah, you've just defeated me, go show the thing to that. It's like, Dude, I've kicked your ass ages ago with this trial shit. Completed the whole island trial and the Pokemon League. Fucking acknowledge that shit, alright? But no. And that's what I freaking hate about the Pokemon games. Post-game just feels lacking as shit. And it doesn't really feel like any real reason to really, play beyond the main story. Yeah, it just felt like I needed to get it out of my chest. Just like, I was training Pokemon and all that to evolve and all that, to complete the Pokedex and all that, but as soon as the main game story ended, I was just like, I can't be arsed. And it just kind of made me feel gloomy, the post-game blues. Just like, what now, essentially? Just like spend the whole week on that. Just like, damn it, Pokemon, freaking have an well, it did have an ending, but just leave it at that. Just like, sure, you wouldn't be able to complete the Pokedex and all that, so I guess that's why. And post-game just feels, I'm just repeating myself at this point, really, aren't I? Anyways, the thing here is just like, if you still had him muted the whole time there, just like, what you were rambling on for a while there? Well, yeah, naturally. So yeah, in short, the game's pretty good, a bit flawed, a bit lacking in certain areas, overall pretty good, nice story, some nice characters here and there, nice exploration, new region, some new Pokemon here and there, some of them kind of generic, some kind of bland, some kind of interesting, and it's kind of, another thing that's kind of interesting, I guess, is the regional variants. Like, for example, Geodude, Graveler, and Golem, for example, look completely different and apart electric type for some reason. And Rattata and Raticate look different and apart dark type. So there's like, there's certain differences there, which kind of pisses me off that there's no national Pokedex, because can you imagine, like, all the other Pokemon, potentially, like, if they had Aloe Pokemon, like, from previous generations, but spiced them up by giving them different looks and types? But no, there's a limit to that, it's just the ones that are in the region, and nothing else. Kinda bland. I mean, there's still quite a lot of Pokemon, so there is a bit of variety there, but it just kind of feels like, pointless. Just like my interest in the series was piqued, and when I was playing it, it was like, yeah! As soon as the main game, can't be arsed. I think I had a similar situation when I played Pokemon Soul Silver, actually. It's like, once you got to the Pokemon League, it kind of feels like, oh, we're at the end of the game. It's just like, no, you're not. There's still more to do. In fact, there was a lot more to do with Soul Silver. It's like, you completed the Pokemon League. Now on to frickin' Kanto. Just like, wow, there's still more in the game. Yeah, there's quite a bit more post-game in that than the new one, I gotta say. But I remember having trouble just getting for the Pokemon League in that game. And that's another thing. No trainer rematches in frickin' Sun and Moon by the looks of it. What's up with that? Just feels like a lot of things just kind of lacking. It's got the story, I feel, is its main appeal, and the exploration, but like, there's a lot of stuff that just kind of feels lacking. Anyways, I should, get on with this, because seriously, I'm gonna skip through the scene though. It's just like, when you finally get to the frickin' point and you're gonna skip the scene? Yeah, because we've seen it before. Post-game blues. Yeah, that's me right now. That face. You know what? It's on screen for me. Just like, skip that long scene with Muto because, it's just gonna be going over. It's like, oh yeah, I'm interested in pursuing a career in science. I take a long sip of the tea in front of me as the girls do. Just whiling away the time in Lily's room, sipping tea with her and Hanako. It feels familiar, almost nostalgic. So how's your work in the newspaper club going, Hanako? Man, it just feels weird to record after that rant. I want to know too. It sounds like it would be quite interesting. You know, the other thing is, this frickin' LP is near its end as well, so, you know, post-frickin' novel blues as well. God damn it, I hate that. It's like when a story really just grabs your attention, and then when you complete it, you're just like, ah, that was a good story. Fuck, what do I do now? It's just like, you feel like you've, like, dedicated so much time to it, and obviously it's gonna have an ending. It's like, say for example, like manga, for example, like series that kind of span years, and you pay attention to it for at least a few years, and then it comes to its ending, and like, usually it kind of tends to be underwhelming, or it just flat out sucks, but like, it just has that kind of thing where it just like, doesn't feel like it would ever end, and then when it does, you're like, well, shit. It's just like, what am I gonna read now? I had a similar feeling when Bleach ended. I mean, like, it's very flawed and all that, but the fact that it actually ended is just like, it felt like it was never gonna end. But they're just like, kind of bittersweet, you know? The ending kind of was underwhelming, like I pretty much said. It's just like, the endings tend to be underwhelming usually, isn't it? But anyways, Hanako's face turns down at the attention placed upon her, though her smile belies the fact that she generally likes being the center of the fact that she generally likes being the center of interest for the two of us. It's good. I think I'm getting better at it. Only a couple of her friends handle most of the jobs, getting stories and stuff. Oh, that reminds me. Wait, it's 28th, right? So when I last, you know, uploaded, so it's been maybe nearly 2 weeks probably since I last recorded for this. But I remember at some point within that time, like looking at the CGs and like looking at Hanako's letter, for example, and I could like, I was just like looking at the writing on it, it was like, holy shit, I can actually translate some of this. And by that I mean only partially. No kanji translations from me. I could freaking recognize the katakana and hiragana though. I think it didn't have katakana actually, just hiragana, but that's something. I just do the computer things like putting the stories together and getting it printed. It's nice since I can sit and concentrate. You know, that's a thing with games and all that, is like, there's a certain point where there's really nothing new, isn't there? Which makes sense, because how can you just continuously add things? It's like, I don't know how to word it. It's like, once you've completed everything, characters, like I said, don't really have anything new to say, and it just kind of feels like, at that point, it's just like, part of the game just kind of falls flat, because there's nothing, you know, it just feels like nothing's different, really, isn't it? It's like with a visual novel, it's like conclusive, isn't it? It's like once you get to the end or out, credits, that's it. Just like, no, like, you wouldn't see it just like, you continue on from there and the characters just say the same old shit. No, you get that if you play through the game again. But with games like Pokemon, for example, you complete the game, but you get post-game stuff, and the characters still say the same shit, except for some slight differences, and catching legendaries and complete the Pokédex and all that shit. So it's just like, sure, that's the appeal, but it just doesn't appeal to me when I kind of like the story and all that. I'm still ranting about that. Just like, But yeah, you don't see that in a visual novel. I mean, it'd be kind of odd if you did. So imagine that. Just like, no, that's generally what happens if you play through it again. Which I've totally had played through it before, you know, but it's kind of nice to revisit the visual novel. I mean, I've played it before LPing it. Although, like I said, I'd never played Shizune's or Lilly's route, so there was something new regardless, wasn't there? Anyways, enough rambling. I see Lilly's low-tech nature isn't shared by Hanako. While sitting in a room compiling other people's newspaper articles into documents doesn't strike me as overly outgoing. It is heartening to see her widening her circle of friends. Baby steps, I guess. It's probably a bit much to be expecting her to become a socialite like Lilly. How are you finding Naomi? I've heard she can be quite troublesome at times. And Lily's going into a mothering mode over Hanako. Letting go of her is something she's had to learn. Oh, another thing, when I was making the New Year video, I still haven't completed it, by the way. I've compiled all the clips together. It's like 56 minutes. Probably be a little over 57 minutes to complete it. So all that's left really is adding in the music, which I've added for the most part. I've even added in the music for the Katawa Shoujo section. I avoided like putting in any major spoilers in the clips, but I went overboard as usual with the clips. And like I played music from the game. I also actually played the the track Innocence, the one that's like do 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 and all that. Played both right hand and left hand on my keyboard using Synthesia, which is like essentially like, you hear that? The Ugu alarm. Well, anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, Synthesia is kind of like a program that kind of looks like Guitar Hero, only for piano, keyboard, and all that. It shows you the notes, so it's not quite like Guitar Hero because it actually shows you notes. It doesn't like teach you any music theory or any shit, but it shows you the notes to play on MIDI files, essentially. If you got a MIDI file and it plays a song, it will show you the notes. So I was using that, and I played right hand and left hand separately because, I couldn't be asked trying to learn it all, because like in the past when I actually had the motivation to learn anything on keyboard with both right hand and left hand, it would take me months to learn a song, really. Like to learn Tazanican, I think it took me 4 months to get used to. Now I can only play the main melody, like the main theme, like do 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 do. I can play left hand and right hand for that. The rest of it, I can't remember. So I recorded it separately. I was like, okay, record the right hand, then the left hand. I screwed up on the left hand. It was did fairly well, reasonably-ish, for the most part, but like towards the end of it, I switched to strings suddenly. It's like, wow, that came out of nowhere. It's because I screwed up my left hand playing. Just like, oh fuck, I'll re-record it, but with strings, just to make it different. And it sounds a bit weird. Not only that, I screwed up on playing Wasona at one point as well, like the intro to it on my guitar. I'm saying all this because at the end of this part, I'm just going to insert the clips from the New Year video as a kind of preview to the New Year video in a way, I guess. Just kind of show that section, since it is relevant-ish to this, because it is the clips for it. Anyways, let's actually focus on the plot that we've seen before. Hanako scratches her cheek, thinking on her answer. Nomi's nice. She's a bit loud sometimes and a bit tiring, but she's really helpful. Her friends are nice too. Ah, I completely forgot to mention, didn't I? It's like, yeah, while putting those clips together, essentially, I, kind of browsed through each part, well, not every part, because that's a pain in the ass. There's over 100 parts in this LP. Just looking for specific titles. It's like, I want, some, clips for each character, in each of their routes that doesn't have any major spoilers for it. But essentially, while I was browsing through them, I was going through the part where they were coming back from Hokkaido, and Sao mentioned to Lilly, where he was just like, yeah, we can look forward to this in the holidays, right? And Lilly kind of reluctantly agrees, it takes her some time to come to that conclusion. And since we've seen a neutral ending now, we kind of understand why she was like that. So it brings a whole new context to that scene, doesn't it? We're just like, wow, that's actually kind of depressing. It's just like, god damn it, man, or I feel like shit. That's wonderful to hear, Hanako. I'm glad you found a source of such enjoyment. Lily's smile is warm and genuine, but I can sense a touch of wistfulness to it as well. Hanako seems to miss that entirely, but I don't think for a second that I'm imagining it. I suppose it's because I'm slowly come to pay more and more attention to everything going on around me. With things seemingly happening faster and faster, it feels like I'll miss something if I'm not as observant as possible. With the exams, my newfound love life, trying to fit in some studying regarding my options for college and university, my heart condition applying the brakes on everything at irritatingly random times, my brain's been in overdrive recently. Makes me appreciate the rare, quiet moments such as these. I guess this is why Lilly gives regular walks to the convenience store and her tea parties with Hanako. Despite her like of being surrounded by others, they gave her a moment of peace in a chaotic and busy life. Thank God the exams are over, eh? The comment draws an earnest chuckle from both of the girls. It seems like everybody's been a lot happier since the exams ended last week. So, what are you doing for the summer holidays, Hanako? Only, I quickly count the days in my head. Today's Monday and school finishes on Saturday. 5 days to go after all.
I was thinking of traveling just around a bit. There's a lot of places I want to see, and I think I have enough money to pay for the bus and train rides. Only one of the other girls in the newspaper club said they might come along too.
Her look indicates she's given the matter quite a lot of thought. I'm kind of surprised that she's contemplated something like this. Seems she's really become intent on striking out on her own.
Is there anywhere in particular you're thinking of going? I was thinking that Kyoto sounds nice. I think I'll try to go to a few places though.
Lily nods in approval, happy with Hanako's plans. While I cast my eyes to Lily, I refrain from asking her the same question. You know, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, I'm going back to that again, but seriously, the protagonist has the well, not the protagonist, I mean the main kind of companion character, sort of. I mean, she isn't always accompanying you everywhere or anything, but she follows you throughout the islands, essentially, more or less, because she has her own reasons to be there usually. I won't go into details about it, no more spoilers or anything. But essentially, she has the same name, Lilly. It's just spelt different, you know. It's like spelt like this, but with an I and an E at the end. So just kind of like, I don't know. I've already gone over that, so anyway, every time it comes up in conversation, it feels like she's either unsure of herself or simply dodging a question. It's troubling. Be sure to call sometime while you're out and about. I gave you my number before, right? Hanako gives a quick nod, a happy smile on her face. It's strange to see how happy people seem afterwards. You seems Spartan whenever university aspirations are brought up, and now Hanako is just the same. Man, I feel like shit. That's enough reason, actually, why I haven't got around to recording. Wow. There's a few reasons. 1, feeling like shit. 2, well, no, that doesn't apply. It's just like, wanting to complete this LP before uploading it doesn't really equate to why I haven't actually got around to recording it. So screw that, scratch that one. Second reason was I was playing that freaking game for the past week. And the third reason is, kind of related to the first reason really in a way, isn't it? Is that I think I've got a cold. I'm not entirely sure because I don't feel the same kind of feelings I did yesterday with a cold where it's like, actually I still do, kind of. But now there's also kind of like the mood of having completed that game as well. So it's just like I feel extra shitty, essentially. Just like that was part of the reason for taking this bloody break in the first place. And now I feel even shittier. Well, not really. But it's more of I feel shit, essentially. It's like I felt like shit, I was playing that game, it was like, I don't feel like shit anymore. Complete the game, I feel like shit again. It's just like, god damn it. So, why do I feel this uncertainty? And why Lily too? And why do I ramble a lot? Relationships really can be irritatingly troublesome sometimes.
Oh, what time is it?
It's about nearly 12:30 in the morning, or afternoon, whatever you want to see it, midday. Oh. Takes me a second to remember that Lily's clock doesn't have any visual feedback. I really should know you have any time to be in a room. Nevertheless, I take my watch from my bag and quickly check it, the reason for her asking becoming clear. It's about 10:20, nearly curfew. Monica rose to her feet, dusting herself off and neatening her gown after doing so.
I'd better be going then. Good night, Lily, Isao. Sleep well, Hanako.
See you tomorrow. With that, she walks to the door and quietly makes her exit. Silence. This seems to be happening more and more between Lily and I. Recently, after a few seconds, I finally find something to talk about. Oh yeah, I played the Pokemon now. Oh yeah, I talked to Mira on Friday and finally checked out some guides on college and how to apply for it.
That's good news. If you're going to be applying for colleges, I assume you have some idea in mind of what you might do in the future.
I think I've settled on becoming a science teacher. It's going to take a while to get through university and everything to be qualified, but I think it'll be worth it. Lily's face brightens considerably at the news. I suppose with her wish to become a teacher, she's delighted I take the same kind of path.
So you've decided on a career of teaching? I think that path suits you most excellently, Isao.
I smile and nod, this time even if I know she can't see me doing so, I know she feels it.
I imagine Vito would have taken to the news well.
That's one word for it. Hey, Lily.
Yes.
I know you want to be a teacher, but for a second I wonder whether I should really ask her the question on my mind, but that's quickly brushed aside by the fact that this is rather late to have second thoughts.
Surely you don't still think I'd be offended by something regarding my blindness?
Her accusing tone is betrayed by her grinning face, amused at my awkwardness in raising the topic. Some things never change. Good point, I guess. I was just thinking whether or not being blind would be a hindrance, what with your ambitions to become a teacher and all. She looks mildly surprised before giving the question some thought. I refuse to think she's never actually pondered this issue before.
I wonder, Isao, could you close your eyes for a moment?
Okay. Raising an eyebrow, I do as she requests. I have no idea what she has in mind, and my questions only increase as I peek out from one eye. Taking the black ribbon she usually wears in her hair from the cabinet beside her bed, she advances towards me while running it through her fingers to remove any stray hairs remaining on the piece of cloth. Man, I feel drained. I only just woke up like an hour ago. I suddenly click onto her intentions as I feel the black strip make contact with my face, wrapping around my head and over my eyes as I think of Ocarina of Time due to the music. You know, back to Moon and Sun. It's just like, the music in that game is just like, I mean, it doesn't really have much of a memorable soundtrack, really, to be honest. It fits the atmosphere, but it doesn't really have any standout tracks. Well, actually it does, that's why I'm bringing it up. Like, it has this one Celtic sounding track, where it's just like, it's like, only played a few times throughout the game, and I kind of like it. It makes me think of the late, unfortunately, but great, James Horner. Because he used a lot of Celtic kind of instruments in his soundtracks, like Braveheart and Titanic. You know, he has that certain feel to it, you know. One of my favorite composers. I was really just like, depressed me when I found out he died, like, was it a year or two ago now? I was kind of just like, I was like literally just browsing this Wikipedia page like a few days before that, and then suddenly, bam! It's like, damn it. I remember that was like the first thing I'd ever first time I'd ever learned something on my keyboard, like diligently, you know, practiced to learn, was One Last Wish from the 1950 movie Casper, which he composed, which has a really nice sound to it. So that was kind of, you know, kind of depressing. A lot of musicians freaking died this year. It's ridiculous. Even the composer, well, it wasn't this year actually, but that was, you get the point, sort of, I don't know, just depressing overall. But yeah, this music really does remind me of Ocarina of Time, or Zelda in general, really. I suddenly click on to her intentions as I feel, actually, did I do that? I can't remember. God damn it, I can never focus on the plot, can I? I think I've got that exact setting on my keyboard. I think it's the Obi or whatever it's called. Where is it? I'm not sure if that's the actual instrument or not, but I think it might be. I'm not entirely sure. I just remember playing some improv using that at one point and thinking, yeah, it sounds like that, essentially. Anyway, I suddenly click onto attention, so I feel a black stripe wrapping around my head and over my eyes. What exactly is this for?
It's a little test, Asao. Since you seem to be wondering, I'll let you see things as I do for a time.
Ah, so that's what this is about. To be honest, this actually sounds kind of fun. Childish and rather silly to anyone who would be watching, but a bit of silly fun never hurt anyone. I stand up with a heave, my hands quickly moving out in front of me to warn me of any obstacles. Okay, now what?
Now touch me.
If you say so. Now then. I slowly make my way forwards towards the sound of Lily's voice. My walking speed could barely even be called a shuffle, the entire experience feeling alien enough that I don't want to risk inadvertently tripping over anything, such as her table or her haphazard piles of books. Something soft yet solid brushes against my left leg. Full inspection reveals it to be Lily's bed. I move onwards, find myself thankful that Lily's room is so neat and tidy, and the piles of books she has are generally kept close to the wall, well out of harm's way. The hard wall pressing against my outstretched hands makes me furrow my brow in frustration. Hey, Lily, where are you?
What are you doing over there? I'm over here.
Lily's voice comes from the other side of the room, far from where it was before, even to my untrained eyes. If she's going out of her way to avoid me reaching her, then is this just a game to her? Of course it is, compared to our life where even the concept of sight is an abstract one. 2 minutes in a blindfold are nothing. I guess she's made her point. She's more than capable of navigating her room, and further, I've seen how independent she is, even when compared to many of the others in your market. Well, even if this is just a game, I may as well play it wholeheartedly. At a pace much quicker than before, I move towards the source of her voice, deftly sidestepping the table in the center of her room thanks to remembering its position. I've got you now! She gives an impish giggle, one just long enough to work out that she's passing just beside me. I quickly turn around to face the new direction of the table. It wasn't there before! Ow, ow, ow. That's exactly how he says ow. I slowly sit up next to the table, raising my blindfold as I wrap my aching head. I give an irritated kick to the table that's sitting just in front of me where I fell. Utterly pointless, but the thing deserved it. She's like, what did I do? You hit me, you son of a bitch! So, Lily's still standing just to my side, obviously unsure of what's befallen me. Sorry, I kinda fell over.
Are you hurt?
My head hurts, but I think I'm okay. I think the table moved in order to trip me over. It's sentient, like an earthbound or something. She giggles as she walks over and takes a seat beside me, her hand resting on my own.
I suppose that's the end of that, then.
I think so. I also think I get the point, though I do wish she hadn't involved such a headache. Lily suddenly looks blank.
Point?
And I return an extraordinarily flat look. That was just for fun.
I just thought it might ease you up a little about the subject. You always seem to tiptoe around it after all. In regard to teaching, sight isn't that important. There are plenty of classes taught by entirely blind teachers, and more than enough resources for me to learn the subject. It's as simple as that, really.
I slump my shoulders and give a snort of amusement. Yeah, I understand. I guess we'll both just have to work hard to reach our goals, then. What is it? What is it? Well, we know what it is, but let me check the time. Man, this is gonna be a long video. Alright, I'll insert the New Year thing here to conclude the video. And by that, I don't mean here when I just said it. I mean here.